Hello everybody and welcome back to the Ōkami walkthrough. We are back in Kimiki village and everything's looking a lot better here. We obviously restored Shinshu Field and it's just made everything a whole lot nicer over here. Now, I believe the music right now is called Cherry Blossom Flower or Cherry Blossom Storm. Kamuso here, who is the guy that I was talking about, who has that Japanese flute that is used in the soundtrack, so the shakuhachi. And yes, so basically when it comes to the soundtrack titles, obviously because the songs titles are in Japanese, translations are sometimes not exactly always 100% correct. So while the Ōkami Wikia states Cherry Blossom Storm, my iTunes is telling me that it's Cherry Blossom Shower. So it's not an exact science, but then again, it's the art of translation. It's never really too exact. Because you can either be literal, which is generally what I tend to prefer to go for, but obviously that does completely lose some of the beauty of things, because what tends to happen in the different languages is that I don't quite know how to put this successfully. So certain languages have certain kind of quirks, and most writers tend to abuse those quirks to create like punning effects and poetic resonances and so on and so forth. When you shift that into a different language, that whole kind of context and subtext is lost. It's particularly true of like the shift of most things into English. It's like if you turn Greek into English, or French into English, Japanese to English, pretty much anything into English, you lose so much of everything that's going on. And yeah, what translators tend to do is either go for the literal translation, or they try and replicate what the original does with the language that they have. So the translation may not be exact, but it evokes the same kind of emotions and feelings. That's basically the whole point of localization. It's making the games and films work in the new culture that they are being brought into, whilst paying respect to the culture that it's come from. It's a very difficult thing to do, and I have to say, whoever translated Ōkami did a phenomenal job, I have to say. But this is one of my favourite sequences in the entirety of the game. Because there we have, the orange became big. And, Mr. Orange is going slightly crazy. And, oh boy, he's very breathy. And we begin at the absolutely ridiculous Old Man Orange's flower dance. / the Konohana shuffle, which is what its specific name is. It's absolutely ridiculous. But it's so wonderful. I love it. It's very easy to cock up though. And then you get something like that, which I think is failed dance, although it may also be absolutely not, according to the wiki. Now don't worry, you can fail this as many times as you like, but unfortunately once you are in it, you are here for the long haul until you complete it, which is a pain. It's basically because the blooming move is not quite as well coded, I think, into the Wii game as it should be, and so it's very easy to not close your circles properly and just mess up. Thankfully this whole thing isn't very long, and it's so ridiculous that I happily will do it again and again and again. And there we go. Konohana's true form is complete. Mostly. But it's still stunning. Oh dear, I think that pooped him out a little bit too much. Oh well. Hello, Sakuya. Now we get Sakuya's theme. As well as, I believe, True Sakuya Part 1 and True Sakuya Part 2, or first half and second half. It's quite a long cutscene, but it's wonderful. Also, hello Sakuya! I see you have removed some of your clothes. You can tell this game was made by Hideki Kamiya, can't you? So, with Sakuya, it was decided early on that she would have a certain peachy motif. And as such, not only her boobs are given the peach-like appearance, but her bum as well. And, the designer remembered that Kamiya loved it and gave it the OK right away, because he is quite the pervert. As I'm sure most of you are probably aware at this point. They also designed a level 2 and level 3 look to go with the progression of the game, where she would become increasingly undressed. Obviously that's not exactly doing much for women's rights, but oh well, Ami is female, so it's perfectly okay. Understandably, the proposed level 3 design was vetoed by Inaba, because basically level 3 was completely naked with just a sort of fine mist surrounding her, which, yeah. Apparently they had designed the top of her head to look like the Divine Tree, and at one point had implemented it into the game, but the idea wasn't used in the final product. They imagined it inflating when she got angry, but the idea of, well, something else which I am not going to go into because it's kind of a spoiler. But here we just ran into, and I kind of almost completely ignored, Hasugami. Now, Hasugami is second of the three Flora Gods. He is also playing a Shakuhachi, as is obviously Kamuso, and from it we learn Water Lily, which allows us to move about on water. Now, thankfully this is going to allow us to pick up almost everything necessary in Kamiki Village, but it also is going to allow us to progress. Now, Hasu means lotus, so Hasugami is literally the lotus god. And referring back to the whole see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil thing that we've got going on with the Hanagami trio, Sakagami's face is blocked by his sho whilst playing, so he sees no evil. Hasugami's mouth is preoccupied by his shakuhachi, so he speaks no evil, which means that the last of the triumvirate, it obviously hears no evil. You'll see why that is the case a little bit later on. But we've got a little bit of a ways to go before we get to the final of the 3 Flora gods. But for that, we get a sun fragment. It's a very easy sun fragment, considering they basically hand it to us on a platter. But now that we have Water Lily, we are able to get to the 2 floating islands that are on either side of Miki Village. On these, on this one, and I think on the other one as well, there are clovers and there are also dig spots. Now, while it is possible to get up onto these things now, you may want to leave it until a little bit later. Because as you can see, it's a bit of a challenge getting up. Or at least, it is for me because I'm being an idiot. The way that you are going to get up onto this island is by double jumping and shaking to sort of tackle mid-air. And that will kind of comfortably put you onto the platform. Otherwise, you're going to be here for a little while. As I am, because I am a complete and utter idiot. Because basically later on you will get a move that allows you to do a double jump, which therefore gives you enough height to therefore get on. But obviously you are able to get onto it at this earlier point by shaking. I am just being a complete and utter moron right now. Don't worry, I will soon enough figure it out. I just thought I should show this off because it shows that I am not infallible to being stupid. And there we go, we're on. That's all it took. It's just... oh my god. I'm just a bit of an idiot sometimes. And now comes my ridiculously long hunt for the dig spots that are on this island. There are 2 of them. And unlike pretty much most of the other dig spots where you can see kind of the tip of the treasure chest in the ground, here, nope, nothing at all. It's infuriating. And because we don't have the ability to turn things to night immediately, it's just a painful experience. I believe, actually, to get those, I may have looked up a video guide of Ōkami and just thought, right, where are these damn things? Show me! And basically gone and found it that way, because if you watch someone finding them, then you know kind of the very specific locations of where they will be, pretty much. And now I realise that I need to go and head over to the other side, because I can't do this in a nice, simple kind of path. Because no, that would be way too simple and convenient for me. Also, I've just remembered, oh yes, I need to feed the dog. Now, I believe that pretty much most guides probably tell you to feed this dog later, because he may or may not have plot relevance. But I don't know, seeing as you're here, you might as well get it. It's free early praise. Who doesn't want free early praise? Now, I don't know whether this is quite true. I don't know whether I'm making it up. Also, thank God the dig spot was visible. I completely blanked seeing it there, but it is visible on this island. But I believe that once we have the other of the Hanagami Trio's flower powers, it is actually possible to automatically move from Lilypad to Lilypad using the Celestial Brush. Because you see the lotus flowers on the lily pads. I believe you can use those to kind of jump from thing to thing once we get the next power. I'm not 100% sure that that is definitely a thing. It's certainly something that I have never used. But I believe it may be possible, which is really quite awesome. Also, I have an absolute obsession with going into things in the middle of the day. I don't know why. I guess it's because pretty much every single time I prefer the day music to the night music. Even though this is a completely different sort of location, it has no time or place. I'm just incredibly weird. But, whilst we are here, let's talk to Camellia and Camille. Right, there we go, Camille, take that. Now, if you do this, this starts the side quest of Camellia and Camille, and it's all to do with inspiring belief in the gods. I mean, that's the entire point of Ōkami as well. But you need to speak to them, well, you have a period of time where you can speak to them. I think the latest point is about the third way, well, about a third into the game. But seeing as we are in Kamiki anyway, I see little point in not doing it now. Especially considering it's so easy, because all it requires is you to just sort of ram into her. Now, I'll go into their story a little bit later when we bump into them again. But they do have quite a sweet little side quest. I like it. So, that covers pretty much everything in Kamiki Village for now, which is quite nice. I'm quite disappointed that I didn't speak to Camuso after blooming all of the trees to see what he says. But, oh well, it happens. Can't really do much about it. Either way, we're done. Let's move on.